How was Joe Flacco? Lima got a text. Two can get texts, and I got a text earlier about there are also bowl-winning college coaches who are listening to the show and watching it on YouTube, and we appreciate, who also didn't care for Lima's take on the entertainment factor of the football game on Sunday. You want to just reevaluate it while you have real, true football guys who have championship rings in high school and in college are texting you about that game, saying that you're nuts and that it was an entertaining Browns game?
So I want to know what they thought of the Bills Ravens game, which looked like a different sport last night.
Honestly, I think that they were. I think they would be hyperventilating. Coaches are control freaks, and that thing looked out of control. You're up by 2 scores. You end up losing that game. I think that you would. I think you would want to commit some self-harm there if you're a head coach. Like that's rough. Like you want to bite your lip until it bleeds.
That would probably be more nerve-wracking than entertaining for a coach.
Like if you
right?
watch, like a football guy. And I'll only do this quickly. Like a football guy watches Cleveland and Cincinnati, and there were some people going, "Ken, you better call for Stefanski's job today." I'm like, I thought it was a tough football game. I think there was some mistakes by both teams, and yours happened to cost you because, hey, if you would have, if you convert 4th and 5, you're a little bit closer. And maybe you go in for a score on that one. Maybe you go in for a touchdown. Like, there's things that cost both these teams, but I'm going, it's a tough, especially compared to the other week 1 games we've ever seen. It's a tough, reasonably well-played game. Both sides had it. Things were under control. Kevin Stefanski's game plan with the way he wanted it. So as a Browns fan, even though, you're not lighting up the Cleveland sky, even though Flacco threw for 290. You're not lighting up the Cleveland sky and lighting up the scoreboard, but I was entertained by the game. I think that a lot of football coaches, unless you are an offensive coordinator, unless you are just yards, points, I think last night scared the bejesus out of a football coach watching the Bills and Ravens. No, man, you're up by 2 scores and you still can't stop Josh Allen. We already got used to Patrick Mahomes. This guy might be possessed. It's only week 1, but my good God, I can't deal with 2 animals like that. And then if you're a Ravens fan or you're a coach of football that watches the Ravens, you're going, the same stuff. What's missing in your culture? Why can't you finish these games off? But that's just, I don't want to bog down with that.
No, I want to ask you, though, because you mentioned Flacco. And if there was one criticism that I said, you know what, we should talk about this on the air, because I thought the same thing as you. I thought the approach, whether or not I found it entertaining, but the approach made sense. Okay, we do not, even though our defense was dominating Burrow, you feel like the more possessions Burrow has with Jamar Chase, especially the way they were calling pass interference, like you feel like eventually
the dam's going to break
at some point. Now, maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe they were that dominating, but because of that, I think Stefanski adjusted, also knew he didn't have any running game to speak of. So they had to be resourceful. They had to find a way to make up for that, piecemeal it together, and they did that with Sampson. So in essence, you were using 3rd down back plays on 1st and 2nd and whatever down, because Jerome Ford couldn't do anything in a running game.
They ran the same swing.
Yeah, they did.
And then
he was making guys miss.
Then there was one he was looking, and then he just dumped it off. There was a couple of just dump-offs to the right, but it looked like a swing. They ran the same thing, it looked like 4 or 5 times.
So you're seeing the too high safety thing of the quarters coverage where...
I got to stop you before we get going.
Oh, go ahead.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Nitty-gritty
football.
It's time for nitty-gritty football.
I'm the casual.
Crowder wheel route down the right sideline.
I just gave it to you. I gave it to you an hour ago. I can't give it to you now.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
I told you. I thought they did the next best thing to a running game, because if you're not going to have a running game, and a lot of people go, oh my God, what are we going to do? So you feel powerless in what you're going to do. Okay, well, you got to shorten up the routes, and you're going to have to throw some things behind the line of scrimmage. And that's going to have to be your run game until you get a run game figured out, which means you're going to have to work on it in practice, because you probably ain't getting a run game figured out this afternoon. If they don't trust your run, or they don't respect your run, and you can't trust your run, and you don't respect your own run, you're going to have to do the next best thing. So, I mean, when Joe Flacco throws for 290, it's a different look than what I think a lot of people would think 290 looks like, because, you weren't necessarily whipping the ball all over the place. I mean, when you're only averaging 6.4, that means there's going to be a lot of things, boop, 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 here, there. And they're a better... It's surprising because, you look at the offensive line, there's names there, and usually when I think about an offensive line that I have questions on, it's always like, all right, you always move better forwards than you do backwards. You should be at least decent enough to run the football. That wasn't really the case. I don't know if it's a vision issue or if it's just like, hey, man, you had Nick Chubb that made the offensive line look better than probably what it was, which is probably a little bit of the truth. Probably not a bad offensive line, but it's probably a bit of the truth. He is a fantastic all-time great Cleveland Brown. But also, you're going to need yourself a good running back there that's going to end up making him look a little bit better. Because if you don't have respect, it's going to be tough.
Look, I know, and an homage to some of those college coaches of big-time programs that could be listening, that they like those heavy sets. You know, when they went into 12 personnel, they couldn't run out of it, which, you know, look, they're not going to do the bootleg stuff that they did with Baker. And you've seen, by and large, a lot of that has gone away in the NFL, some of the bootleg stuff, because these coaches don't like cutting off half the field and limiting your vision or only allowing, you know, a couple safety valves and that's it. And if it's covered, you got nothing.
Yeah.
And Flacco's not a threat to run with it at any point. But it did.
He did take off once.
He did, yeah, he did. It wasn't bad. It did surprise me that even with those heavy sets, they could not run the football. I'm wondering if having Judkins out there, if it's as early as this week, and that would be a lot. That'd be a lot on his plate to kind of come in because it's not just running the football, right? You're also picking up blitzes and you're doing a lot of that. I wonder if, you know, Fannin in the blocking game, because he's going to have to do that, right? He's going to have to do that. I think he got called for a hold yesterday. He had a hold in the preseason. You know, how reliable is that going to be? Because Njoku has become a very serviceable blocking tight end.
How reliable is what going to be?
Is Fannin being able to do that as well?
Well, I think that again, I think they had him isolated a couple times, and I have to watch. That's a lot of respect for a rookie. So I think they had him isolated.
When he moves around as much as he did.
So you will have exactly. So you will have him. I think he might create a problem. Now
it's going to set up nice things because, you know, they had that play with Njoku in years past where you're blocking and then you're taking off and nobody accounts for him.
But this show thinks that Joe Flacco did a good job. And that's, I didn't mean to bog it down with nitty-gritty football, even though I like the nitty-gritty.
Am I wrong? I thought they got above average quarterback play.
I thought they did too. You said you got a text from somebody who was like, if Deshaun Watson had that game, he'd be getting skewered. And I went, well, Joe Flacco's getting paid $4 million for 1 year. And right now we are kind of in I got to tell you, I think we are kind of in a honeymoon period again with Joe because our memories go back to our run that we had to the playoffs a couple years ago. As tape comes out on Joe within this offense, there's going to be more challenges. That's why I'm very bitter and upset, even though I don't sound that way. I'm bitter and upset that we lost because I got a feeling like my guts are going to be really tingling and upset after Green Bay in week 3. I got a feeling they're going to be even more upset with some of the other ones coming on. Like that opportunity you had to win this football game, to start this season off the right way, it slips through your fingers. And it's not of a guy who, and I know, man, you had drops, you had some stone hands out there, but damn, like it's a team game. I shouldn't just blame it on one guy, but it's such an easily replaceable
game
piece.
for Joe, though.
Yes.
Oh, I thought so.
If you thought Joe was bad, I'm all ears. 216-474-0092. I want to hear all about it because I thought Joe was pretty good yesterday. I would give him A-, B+, A-, somewhere in there. Probably B+. I'll give him B+. Gives him something to aim for. I don't mean to be difficult with the caller. I actually disagree with the caller. Kevin was right. If you don't turn the ball over there, like if Joe doesn't get hit while he throws, the ball isn't low, then it's right at the chest. Was it Jerry Jeudy who bobbled the first one?
It was Jeudy first, and it was Tillman second.
Okay.
Tillman was late in the fourth, yeah.
So he doesn't, okay, because I get him mixed up here. I had a couple of drinks yesterday during the game. So Jerry bobbled the first one. That was taken out of his hands and intercepted. I'm glad they called him down where they called him down because that would have been an even bigger problem if they had let him run it. But if you don't turn it over there, coulda, woulda, shoulda, there's no field goal attempt. So you still have a 16-14 lead. Kevin's right. And I don't, the turnover at the end, like, yeah, you had a minute, you had time. Could you have been able to, not at the very end, but right before the end, you had a minute, you had time. Could you went down the field? I'm not sure, but at least I wanted that chance, and it just, God, I wanted to just roll under just go. I was in my basement, and I wanted to go further. Wanted to walk out in in the swamp and just call it a day.
Okay, when you're a fan and obviously kicking, like we have no control over any of the football stuff that happens, but we like to talk coaching decisions. We like to talk play calls. That is always a big one after games. You know how I feel about that. We always talk about the flow of the game and clock management. Clock management was not a reason we lost that game yesterday.
Nope.
Flacco's play, quarterback play, is something we always talk about. That was not a reason we lost the game. The things that lost us the game yesterday were some unbelievable drops and the kicker. So I think that is why a lot of fans are feeling, while distraught over the way they lost that game, sick to the stomach. Guys, I talked to Ken right afterwards, and I was worried about you, pal. Like I was, because
That was a bad day.
I think both of us, it's very rare as a Browns fan where I'm like, oh my God, we're going to win. We are going to win this game. And in my mind, I always try to guard against it. I always try to have low expectations when it comes to the Browns.
Bad day.
And I never let it register as, oh my God, we're going to win. But it happened. I couldn't control my visceral
I still
emotions.
didn't allow myself to do it. And then I told you when I was watching, I had Red Zone right in front of me. I had the game up on the TV. I had the radio playing on the Alexa. And when I heard it, when I saw it on Red Zone, I was sick, and I couldn't help but tell my son. And my son was even sicker, and I go, you've let my son down now. Damn you, my son. So there was a little bit of that, too. But ultimately, I'm going to get to Andre Schmidt coming up here in a bit. This is what makes it hurt so much. I thought Joe played a good game. I thought he did. I know that there's people right now. Apparently, I checked during the break. I know there's some Shador fans that are in the messages on YouTube and maybe on Twitter. I haven't really looked right now, but I got off the YouTube there, and I knew there were some fans that would get in. And I know that, and it's even more upsetting for a real hard Browns fan, an actual Browns fan, where you have this weird interest in your team, and you have this group of people that just want your team to lose because they believe that if the team loses, then you're going to be even closer to the guy they want to playing. Or they're just mad at it. I don't know how else to say it, guys. I mean, if Diana Rossini's saying it, she knows something. The season has to really squirrel out of control for Shador to get his shot. Now, I'm not here to sit here and talk about Shador Sanders because I still think it's until after Thanksgiving at the earliest that we get a chance to see him. So, third-team quarterback is where third-team quarterback goes, because I told you last week, with the way things are going, with the way Garrett Nussmeier plays, I know Lenore Sellers a little bit different on Saturday, but there was rain delays in there and weather delays in there, for crying out loud, so I'm going to give him a pass a little bit. I know with the young guys, it probably ain't going to go our way with that guy for this year. So I got to focus on what I can control and what I really should have to focus on. I don't control any of it. And what I have to focus on is say, hey man, we can stomp our feet all we want, but it's one game, and Joe Flacco played pretty well in the game. I give him a B+.
We did leave the show on Friday, and we got clarity to the biggest question of the week last week. Were you aware of this?
Oh God!
Came up in the press conference on Friday.
I had people walking up to me at high school games on Friday night.
Scout team. Turns out they split the reps between Bailey Zappi and the guy that ended up becoming the emergency quarterback on Sunday, Shador Sanders. Didn't come to that, obviously. Joe Flacco played well enough to win that game, certainly. You know, Owen asked a question, but we were up against the break. And Owen's question was, all right, Flacco played well. How many of those does he have in him? So here's what I will say when it comes to Flacco, because, you know, watching yesterday, you're like, all right, you have no reason to believe that Flacco can't play at a high level. I mean, what would make you think like he's lost the abilities or the skill set that he has? I thought for 3 quarters he had all day to throw the football. I think the dam started to break a little bit late in the third, and you saw like Posick was starting to kind of get crunched back. You brought up also Hendrickson was kind of finding his way eventually.
I think DeJuan started to get tired, but I got to watch it.
Yeah,
which is it's not an excuse. They're professionals.
You're not going to keep quarterbacks upright for 4 quarters every week. But I thought by and large pass protection was really, really good. I do think there are going to be those games where when guys start buzzing the tower, it's going to be tough for Joe.
Yeah,
it's just going to be tough. He's just doesn't have that escapability. Even yesterday, there were about 4 plays where Burrow. That magic act, that Houdini act that he was able to get out of those, that's not going to happen. Flacco's not going to be able to do that. Those will be sacks. Those will be drive killers. So
and that's why he's got the check downs to Sampson and things like that. That'll eventually be sniffed out. And can he stretch the ball down the field once they start sniffing out all the checkdowns.
So this is what's going to make it even more important with Judkins. He's going to have to, and it's probably going to be unrealistic. He's going to have to hit the ground running like crazy because they have to take care of that defense. That defense was good yesterday. That opening drive, I know that opening drive, but again, you're unlocking it. I don't think a lot of coaches, if you actually held them, if you gave them truth serum, I think a lot of them go, hey, if you give up a touchdown on the opening drive, you're trying to score, but you're really trying to learn. You're trying to hold them up, but you're really trying to learn. If you give up a touchdown on the opening drive, you have a lot of football ahead of you. It's not a big deal like fans make it out to be. Because if they feel they've learned something out of it, they'll do it all the time. They'll figure it out. And like you know what? I go back to the TCU UNC game. You notice what North Carolina did on their first drive? And I'm pretty positive TCU goes, okay, we know exactly what you have and what you don't. And then that was the end of it. That was the end of it.
Oh, wait, congratulations, Bill Belichick in week 2, getting off the schneid.
He did it.
I watched that game. Yeah, because I'm a weirdo. I watched that game.
Was it Charlotte?
It was. Boy, you want to talk about a non-electric atmosphere. Oh, God. I've been to high school games that were way better. Anyway, I think that you're going to run into a problem here where if this offense continues to be stagnant and it doesn't look like it's going to have many opportunities to really flourish, where you have Baltimore's defense is probably playing for keeps here. Green Bay's defense is better, obviously, with Micah Parsons now. Detroit, their problem was not the defense. I thought their offense. Watching
Holy
Detroit
cow.
on Sunday afternoon, I was worried about Ben Johnson. I think losing Aaron Glenn can be a big hit, but I thought that their defense wasn't the issue. I thought their offense was just terrible. There were a couple of plays. They do that little thing to Jamison Williams, and usually that's wide open forever. There was a problem with that. I don't want to raise alarms already, but
ass kicking.
Yeah, their offense is a little bit rough there, but their defense, I thought they were as solid as they could possibly be. I think that eventually things came in on them, and if you can't get that running game going to respect it, and I just put Joe out there with 5 guys and they got to throw the ball around, we're going to be in for some long days. And then you know what and this is what the one part of the new Browns fan base is seeing. Is you will get a chance to see those guys sooner. You will get a chance to see Dylan Gabriel sooner because he'll get attacked, but eventually you'll get to a point where it's not worth it anymore, where, you want to see what the kid's got. And so there's got to be a melding of that. But I thought yesterday Joe Flacco played pretty well. And, of course, we wouldn't hold him to the same standard as the guy that nobody wants to see on the field anymore. Because Joe isn't getting a $230 million contract. And you didn't give up 3 first-round picks. And you didn't jettison a guy who, at the time, was pretty controversial in his own right just because of the football play, not because of anything else. You didn't jettison a guy at the time was pretty controversial and now is seen as the missing link and one of the greatest mistakes that your franchise has ever made. So, we don't hold Joe to the same standard. We don't hold a 40-year-old guy that none of us think is the future of the franchise, even himself. We don't hold him to the same standard as what I just said. That's foolish. So whoever texted you that, I think you got to see the forest for the trees.